Hello, everyone. Welcome. Sales Kickoffs 2025 Trends, Tips, and Tools. My name is Elay Cohen, and I'm the CEO of SalesHood, and just excited to have you here. Have an amazing cast. Denise Behrens from Exegy, Karen House from StarCompliance, and Danica Granard from SalesHood. They're all going to formally introduce themselves later, but let's just do a big hello.
Hello.
So everyone, for those of you that are new to SalesHood, welcome. I'm going to give you a quick overview of who we are. For those of you that know SalesHood, I can see many friends, many faces in there. Amazing. Welcome. Thank you. It's great having you. What a great community we have. Listen, SalesHood, we are a revenue enablement platform. We're all about helping companies power repeatable sales execution. We guide sellers on what to do and what to share. We've been around for 11 years. Pioneers in sales and revenue enablement, and we're all about training and onboarding and sales coaching and sales content activation and really leaning into digital sales rooms these days and providing enablers and marketers and sales leaders with the insights they need so they can know what's working and what's not working and in their programs. And that's it for the pitch. And one of the things that we're going to dive into today, which I'm very excited about, we've been working hard on really leaning into Gen AI. And one of the things we're going to lean into today is AI role play. This is coming out very soon. We've got a pre-release, and both Denise and Karen's organizations are part of it. And I'm going to have Danica has to do a demo later, but Danica, just say hello, introduce yourself.
Thank you, Eli. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here today. My name is Danica Granard. I am a customer success manager here at SalesHood, and I have the absolute pleasure of working with Denise and Karen on a frequent basis as they're my customers. I'm really excited to walk you through a demo, and it's going to be a great conversation about SCO, TENS, tips, and tricks. So I'm excited for it.
Boom, you rock. It's amazing. Thanks for being here with us, and thanks for the demo. It's going to be live, right? And it's going to be interactive and immersive, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Here's the agenda. We're going to start by talking about what's changed with SCOs in the last 10, 20 years, right? We've all seen it evolve over the years. We were sharing some Vegas stories earlier, and, so I can't wait to hear from the amazing Karen and Denise in a moment. Then we're going to dig into lessons learned from 24. And I think there's some, a lot has changed in the last 24 months. And then we're going to dive into kind of what does 25 look like? What are some of the themes? What are some of the program execution themes that we're thinking about? And what are we going to do differently in 25 from 24? So that's kind of the program. And then one of the things we know we're going to do different is AI. Gen AI, baby. And so that's why we wanted to give everyone a sneak peek into the new AI role play. And so I'm going to, at this moment in time, I'm going to stop sharing because now we're going to really highlight our amazing speakers. And so Denise and Karen, would love to hear from each of you and introduce yourselves. Tell us about your backgrounds. And I know, Karen, you're going to go first and also answer the question, right? Like, so what's changed for you? How have sales kickoffs evolved over the years? And Karen, lead us off.
Yeah. So hello, everyone. My name is Karen House, and I am in Global Enablement for StarCompliance. Probably dating myself a little bit, but I have been in sales enablement, some version of enablement for 14 years. And we were talking previously about how much kickoffs have changed. And whether you're a small company or a large company, I feel like one of the big things that's changed is the setup of the kickoff. So before, sales team would show up ready to party and sit in a lot of meetings where they were getting presented to and head to the bar. And one of the things we've tried to do over the years, and you've seen it really shift from really getting them more involved so even a month previous getting started, giving them pre-work, them coming prepared, and it being more working sessions. So that's one of the biggest things that I've seen.
Pre-work. I love it. And,
and post-work, but we'll get to that later.
We'll get to that later, right? So listen, knowing that kickoffs are more than just the event. And I think, we've all been to many cities around the US and the world for our kickoff event. So Karen, welcome. And it's great to be working with you and your team, and you're just a rock star. And I know that, Craig Jones, your CRO, sings your praises, and just congratulations to you for all your success.
Thank you.
We're excited to hear more from you in a minute. Denise, from Exegy, please introduce yourself, your background, and same question to you.
All right. Well, my name is Denise Behrens. I am a sales enablement manager, a revenue enablement manager. That's one thing that's changed from sales
Right?
enablement to revenue enablement. And I'm based in New York. I work for Exegy. So I've seen a lot of changes. Some of the things as well, I think we spoke about was there was obviously the in-person, and now we have a tendency to go a little bit more hybrid. We have dabbled back and forth in that. We have gone in person to fully remote to hybrid. And I think actually we'll talk about this in a little bit too, but it's going to be probably more based on the people there. And we're going to do something else for the rest of the company that's not. One thing that I would say is it's really changed from being an event
Yeah.
to be more about continuous enablement. So it's setting the scene for what we want to focus on for our go-to-market team for that particular year. And it's really about embracing the strategy and then how we're going to do that, but then really making it touch points throughout the year that circle back to SKO. So it ties it into more of an annual event, if you will.
How have both of you seen budgets change for
You
kickoffs?
make me cry if I think about that.
Yeah, it's just a down, no.
So
Much
spending
more-
less.
Spending
Yes,
less,
yes. You have to be much more cost efficient. It's really, you do not want the perception to be that this is a jolly for the sales team. We're very mindful that there is a select number of people that are going. This is not the entire company that's going. And we are really trying to change that perception as well to really show that the content that was covered, the outcomes, the objectives, everything that was there was really focused for this team to come together and work together. So it's not to say that they're not going to have fun and they're not going to network, but really the budget itself too, we're in a time when there's people getting cut. We're kind of trimming the fat a lot in the company, and you certainly
Yeah.
don't want to give the perception that, some people are losing jobs and others are getting sent off to the Bahamas, which is not where we're
Yeah.
going.
And the other thing we talked about, is just that sharing that content more broadly as well. Because then people say, well,
Mhm.
we didn't get that update. So creating your content in a way that it can be shared either with client-facing teams or other teams, or putting it somewhere where the company can access it.
Yeah. So the days of hiring Tony Robbins and
Yeah.
Will.i.am to come to a kickoff event to motivate folks. And that was kind of, I think, the height of kickoffs for me at Salesforce. There's a funny line that I've always thought of for kickoffs, and a sales leader once said this to me maybe 4 or 5 years ago when we were talking about how the shift to this kind of immersive experience, a continuous learning. I love that, Denise. The funny line was the only thing sales teams remember from their kickoff experience, the actual event, is their hangover, right? So, and it's a little tongue in cheek there. I know there are non-drinkers out there, but like, I'm just saying, it's kind of a fun thing. So before we dig into the next question, which is all about some of your lessons learned, because you've all been living in this new way of enablement and new way of kickoffs, I'm curious. I'm just curious. I know we're going to talk about this later, but in the context of just kickoff name, Denise and Karen, what are you calling your kickoffs?
We're with Sales Kickoff. We're with SKO. But
SKO?
my previous
are
life
as
was
well.
always Global Sales Kickoff. It was always
Look at
global.
that. Okay.
Yeah. Which,
And
by the way, until you and Danica are the first people I ever heard call it SKO. Now, I don't know if that's because I'm on the East Coast or not, but when Danica would mention on calls, I'm like, what is she talking about?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Go.
oh, SKO. I've never heard that before. I don't know if I'm just old or if it's an East Coast thing, but that was new to me.
Okay.
It's a Danica thing somebody wrote.
I love it. Yeah. And
Well,
listen,
I had heard that before as well, to be fair, but yes.
Danica.
people are saying it's a California thing.
Oh, that's funny. Okay.
Let's go. Let's go. All right.
Let's go.
So folks are really interested to hear from you in terms of like lessons learned. And as you reflect on 2024 and what your amazing kickoff experiences were like last year, earlier in the year, I'm just curious, what are some of your lessons learned, and who wants to go first?
Yeah, one of the things that we did, and this was from a lessons learned from a positive perspective, is we used SalesHood and having a landing page for our SKO. And we started previous, and had content and information about it on there and then added to it as we went
Mhm.
through.
We
So
did.
every presentation was loaded there. We took, put everything there, and then post had a lot of follow-up that we continued to share through there. And then it was a one-stop resource for the team. So that's something we will definitely be doing again. And we're kind of doubling down on that and trying to get it ready and get stuff out even earlier and pre-work out even earlier. So the sales team has plenty of time to prepare.
I love that, a one-stop resource. And just to kind of go a little deeper on that,
Mhm.
one-stop resource, you want to just talk about the participants? Like how would the one-stop resource work for everyone?
Yeah. So one of the things and actually we got this idea, we talked about this on the call previous, of having your CRO record a video that
Yeah.
can kick it off in advance and get excitement going early, launching the theme. And then again, we want to have our different managers do that as well.
Yeah.
For every
So
one of our
Karen,
sales
not
team.
to, I'm sorry to interrupt, but what we did with our CRO last year, we had him film a really funny video. Like he
Oh,
kind of,
that's
he goes,
fun.
is it okay if I kind of, embarrass myself? I was like, I am
Yeah.
always going to vote for yes on that one.
Yes.
So everybody started,
Beautiful.
and that was our one-stop shop. And he basically, we had a Philadelphia Eagles hat on his head that was spinning around and sang this song, and
Love
everybody
it.
was logging in, but everything was on SalesHood, so it became the only place that they could go to get all of the information that they needed, from the agenda to the
Yeah.
pre-work to, the venue information, everything.
So creating this page, love it. SalesHood pages, it's awesome. And you've got an executive welcome video. Funny is extra points for funny. Agenda too. You've got the agenda in there, and then I love it, Karen. Then you're adding content as it's happening, right? And
Yes.
super smart, super smart. So that's a lesson learned positive.
The lesson is positive. And the other thing is the pitch. So if you do pitch exercises where you're having them do something, we did something with our messaging.
Yeah.
We did a contest with that. So we had the sales team doing that in advance, and then they could see each other's as well.
Right.
So that we did something live as well, but that was, they could go in, see what other people were doing, get kind of tips and tricks. And that was all in
Yeah.
that, located in that place.
I'm curious for both of you, how far in advance did you release information, content, agenda, even this pitch practice idea? How far in advance did you make it available for the kickoff
Not
event?
nearly as much as I would have liked to.
Exactly.
My intentions and my goals were sooner, but there's a lot of people that you need to rely on for that. And so
Yeah.
as soon as I can get the date, I make sure that everyone's aware of the date. As soon as we nail down the location, we want to get the flights booked. The rest of it, the working on the agenda, pulling the content together, all of that. But the pre-work will be, the pre-work's it's going to be a bit of work for us to create. I'm sure you're in the same boat too, Karen. But that will be launched within the 2 to 3 weeks prior, so they'll have that required pre-work to do beforehand.
Yeah.
And that was our time frame. So we'd love to get it. I'd love to have it by the end of December. Realistically,
wow.
if it's by the 1st of January, then we'll be doing good.
Yeah.
And I love, somebody just put in the chat, they use the pitch practices as commercials during the events. That's
Oh,
a
what a
great idea.
I love
So,
that.
thank you, Nina. I will be
And
stealing that.
the other thing that we're going to do is, because we're working on a new positioning deck as well. We're expanding on our positioning deck. And what we'll be doing is we'll release the deck to them via SalesHood, ask them to do a pitch around it. We're going to have a session I can't say it, I'll just say SKO because I just can't.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm not West Coast. We're going to ask them to do it before. We're going to cover it in the presentation, and then actually as post work, we're going to ask them then to go back and re-record it based on what they had learned, to then see if there was an improvement. Because it also gives us the ability to see where they need to improve by having it done as pre-work.
That's super smart. Super smart. The pitch practice and recording something ahead of time. I think we're gonna show you some of the latest with the AI role play. I've heard sometimes in the past it becomes your ticket to scope, your ticket to get in. Like if you don't complete. So talk to me about that. Like how did you drive how do you balance? How have you balanced between accountability, motivation, Give us some insight.
There's a lot of accountability, and that has to start from the top down.
Absolutely.
In the past, for me, we really, in previous companies, it was enforced that if the pre-work was not done, you were not going to the sales kickoff. And it was, you know, from the CEO down to the CRO, down to the managers, and it was filtered, which with SalesHood as well, you have the ability to see who's completed, and they know that. Last year was our first year doing that. So this year, you know, it's again getting the buy-in from the managers, because the other thing you don't want to do is lose credibility by saying it's mandatory, you have to do it. Oh, but you can still do it. So you know, you have to kind of say what you mean and mean what you say if you're intending that they're not going to complete it and they're not going.
Yeah.
But I think that's a super important point. You have to have that buy-in, because it's hard as a sales enablement manager if you're the one telling them to do that versus it coming from the CRO or their direct manager.
Yep.
No, I love it. The accountability is so critical, and it's your ticket to go to kickoff. I'll share one quick story. You know, one of the years way back, we were in Vegas and we used a kind of a slot machine metaphor, and we put all the participants' faces in the slot machine. Everybody had to practice and do their their pitch before, but then, you know, Mark Benioff would pull the slot machine and people would come up on stage if their faces popped up, and they'd have to do the pitch on stage. And that's a way to drive accountability and it's fun, right?
You're going to get called, right?
You don't know when you can't be scheduling calls. You can't be the one showing up at like 9:15 when it's an 8 o'clock, 8:30 start, 9 o'clock. So it just, boom, it gets everybody attentive and there and ready to go. So it's a fun little hack, folks.
Like the element of
I have to tell you, I stole that. So I heard you tell this story before. And so last year, we had to spin the wheel. We didn't have everybody's faces, but we did case studies. And so everybody had to study the case study and then spin the wheel, and whoever it landed on had to do the case study.
Genius. It's super fun. Keeps people on their toes. I love it.
That's fun. And I think even to the question that we had in about how to motivate, there's a question in the chat section, how to motivate and energize on a budget. It's things like that as well that will, you know, that element of learning, but also fun and getting everyone involved.
Yeah, I love it. And no, so good. And then back to the comment on using the video. So if you capture the videos ahead of time, which is great, you've got your leaderboard, accountability, and then talk about making folks feel inclusive, highlighting some of the videos, either creating a compilation or even playing, if the elevator pitches are short enough, playing some of them during the commercial breaks is super smart.
You know, we've done that at previous sales kickoffs that I've had, where we actually had all of the different ones come in, and then it would focus on, you know, have the whole compilation of all the different videos with no sound but music playing, and then come in. But that is a budget to do that, because you have to get somebody. I do not have the time or the skill set to do that, so it might be worth it though.
When we talk about Gen AI later, and the poll question I have, it's like, what are ways that you can use AI? That, you know, video compilation creation is an interesting, but we'll get there. I love it. There is timing and budget, and you know, listen, we work very closely with both of you, and we can find a way to make that happen for you guys as well. So we've got some resources too. We're looking forward to helping you make that happen. Trying to think what else. So one last point here. When we talk about kind of 24, I think both of you leaned into a couple different methodologies in 2024. Just curious, how effective do you think it was to kind of pull forward any methodology rollout, methodology training, either before or after the kickoff? How did that work for you? And we're not going to methodology agnostic, right? Let's just kind of talk about the lessons learned. Who wants to go first? Karen, you go first.
Go first. Okay. We rolled out, our methodology had been rolled out. It's hard not to name it. It had been rolled out previously, but we tried to embed it, our sessions, more into the workflow of the sales team, which I think, and some of it, we actually had hands-on exercises and live role play exercises. I think that was mostly successful. I think what we're doing a little bit differently this year is even more, I'm a big pre-work fan, as you guys will hear, doing even more of that ahead of time, and then also just really using the time in person as much as possible. to have those more of an experience where they can work together. And we're also using whoever was good at it in the pre-work. So for example, if somebody was really good at one stage, handling objections, for example, then we'll have them lead
Yes.
that part of the session live versus it coming from enablement or even the sales leaders.
Amazing, amazing. And the methodology that you chose, it's still part of your business, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So we could talk about it, right? So winning by design spiced, right?
Yes, correct.
We're big fans of winning by design, and Yako is a good friend of mine. So super happy that that's kind of a key part of your go-to-market. So great lessons there, pulling the reps up who are the best at it, sharing their best practices and integrating it across a more of a continuous genius. Karen, nice work. Nice work. Good
Yeah.
learning.
I'd say a
Denise,
similar
what-
type of thing with us as well, where we have to have certain champions, if you will, who will be representatives for that. But I do find sometimes there's inexplicable resistance to some of these methodologies because they feel our business isn't like that, it doesn't fit in there. And so I think the analogy that I had used was it was the same way that I have to sneak vegetables into my kids' dinner. So we have to try to weave it and interweave it into their work, so they don't even realize, oh wait, I just did the methodology, and then we can tell them after. But it's really important to have those people who can show them what good looks like, and actually they can hear how it does apply to our business.
Yeah. Really good. Really good. So just to kind of recap some of the lessons learned, right? We've got, kind of pre-work with some communications ahead of time, kind of creating a one-stop resource, one-stop shop. We've got accountability with pitch practice and other elements of training that may happen ahead of time, trying to pull forward as much as the content into the experience, which is genius. And then using storytelling and top reps to kind of really lean into topics, whether it's methodology or other plays or best practices.
We're trying to get away from more We're trying to get away from PowerPoints and really make it more engaging and interactive.
Yeah.
And in doing so, that it's important. Those presentations are important, but actually, Karen, to your point, we're working it into the pre-work. And this is something that we will share company-wide. So we will run live briefings ahead of time that are company-wide, but mandatory for the go-to-market team to watch. And it would have each business, the marketing, the client success, the solution consulting, each of their business plans, their strategies, and their priorities for 2025. So that when we go to SKO, there will be sessions with those folks. But now you've heard the what, you've heard what our plan is. Now let's talk about how we're going to do that and how we're going to succeed. So we're going to make those sessions more engaging and less sitting in the seats watching PowerPoints.
Yeah, and we're doing something very similar to make those more collaborative. And then we're taking all the questions in advance. So it's like, listen to these are your pre-work, come up with all your questions, put those in.
How are you taking the questions?
We haven't figured that out yet.
If anybody has any ideas,
one of the ways, you could insert at the end of your training, pitch practice, you can insert questions just as a module, and then grab the answers and then turn the answers into, it becomes interesting content for executives. Like, here's an example, right? So let's just say you do pitch practice, and let's just say you got a new pitch or elevator pitch, and you're having your team practice record, a few slides, a couple questions that we talked about that I think has worked for other folks, like, what's your favorite slide? What slide will you use all the time, or what slide is missing that you need? And you know what? I'd like to know that if I'm a CMO or a VP of product marketing and I can get that input before I show up to kickoff, and then I show up on stage, I'm like, I watch your pitches.
You're anticipating the objections too, right?
Right.
Getting your input.
Who's the best friend of sales then? The VP of marketing. Wow, that's a lot. We covered a lot of ground. 2024, good year. Congrats to both of you. You both have had great years. Your companies have had great successes, great lifts in productivity, and just overall, just kudos. And it started with your kickoff experience. So way to go. What, are you ready to start talking about 25? I know. Let's all take a deep breath.
I feel like I'm living like up to here, almost drowning, but keeping my head just above water with 2025. And I think it comes down to what we were speaking about before, which was I really wanted to get started a lot earlier. Unfortunately, we did have then some organizational changes that then screwed up the momentum of things. So we have a new CRO coming in not until December.
Yeah.
And you do need and want the CRO's input and buy-in, but he'll have been here a month. But you know, we're full speed ahead with putting together what we know based on what we've seen in 2024 and what worked and what didn't. I think we can probably put about 90% of the agenda together. Still confirming the theme. That'll be confirmed, I'm hoping, on Monday in our meeting on Monday.
So Karen and Denise, like, give us a little bit of insight into, how are you structuring your 25? Like, kind of just the basics, right? Like, is it in person? Is it hybrid? Is it virtual? If you have a theme, share a theme, and
Sure.
how many days? And maybe Karen, you want to go first, and then we'll
Sure,
have Denise go.
sure. So we are planning an in-person for the sales team. So we are doing a hybrid, and we will do a company-wide broadcast for the first 2 hours. And then the rest will be sales kickoff. And we're looking at a location in Florida to do in person. And theme is not final yet. Location is not final yet, but hopefully like in the next week or so, we'll have those. We've already started on agenda
Yeah.
topics. So that's where we are at.
Oh yeah, I love it. Thanks for giving us, and thanks for being, keeping it real. This is where you're at, right?
Yeah.
And congrats. And November 21st, no stress. I think it always
We
comes
didn't even
together.
start ours till December last year.
Yeah.
We
And
didn't
it
know
is
we were having
legit.
one until last minute, and it came together just fine. So,
See?
you can,
Yeah.
if you have to, you can do it in a crunch. But obviously, that's why we wanted more time to plan, right, Karen? I'm sure you feel
Totally.
that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're
And-
like the
and-
third week of January. So
Yeah. Oh, last week
a
of
little bit of
January.
room.
Yeah. We're having fully in person. It's going to be for the
Okay.
go-to-market team. As I mentioned before, what we want to do is share all of the wider strategies for the company, share that with the company, but that will all be ahead of SKO, and the go-to-market team will attend that. We're deciding on a location. We've got the ones narrowed down. I'll be meeting with the team tomorrow to finalize the location, which will be somewhere for us. It was really also just about the major airport location. We have folks flying in from Europe and all over the US. Agenda is pretty rough draft right now, but what I did was started just with the executive leadership team, identifying what the objectives were, what they want to achieve, because tying into how do we measure success, it's really important to understand what we're trying to achieve, and then put the agenda together, and then how do we measure the success, and how do we continue that going through the year.
I love it. I think that's great. And those are so I have a good sense of where you're both at. And so Karen, you're late Jan, and Denise, when are you thinking you
The
are?
week of the 20th of January, so it'll be
Got
that
it.
week.
Okay. So you guys have time. You got time. And
Plenty of time.
many
Put
folks
more
on the
work over
call
the Christmas break.
yeah. So you're on the calendar years. Those of you that are on the SaaS year, you're probably going to do kickoffs in February, March. So how are you both thinking about kind of your new messaging and the pitch? How are you going to be rolling it out this time at your kickoffs?
Well,
Who
I'm
wants to
really
go
keen
first?
to see what Danica is going to demo, if I'm being honest with you.
Well, yeah, absolutely. So let me just kind of like,
Yes.
you guys. So let me ask the question differently. Is when you think about the topics you're going to cover,
Yeah.
is messaging part of your rollout strategy?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
let's start
It's
there,
a huge
right? And
focus. It's a huge focus for us this year. And I think there's a really important element of making sure that everyone is articulating in a consistent manner, right? It's one thing to provide them with the materials and say, here's our, corporate deck, here's our positioning, our engagement deck. It's another thing to hear how they're doing it, what they're emphasizing. So seeing them, seeing folks present, but also I love the ability where they can see others and see how other people are doing and how they're presenting it. So it'll be interesting to see, because like I said, we're going to have them do it before, then we're going to have a session on it at SKO, and then we're going to ask them to go back after SKO and go back and incorporate those elements or messages that maybe they missed just by looking at the slide deck.
Yeah. I think as I'm hearing you share, I think with AI now, you'll be able to provide your teams with a truly interactive and immersive experience at every one of those phases, right?
Yeah.
The pre and the post and the during. And I love that you're going to pull forward kind of the best pitches and the best stories and have that become part of the overall.
I'd love to see what their pitch looks like without AI and then with AI.
Yes.
That would be pretty cool too, to see the difference there, right?
Totally. And Karen, how are you guys thinking about, how are you thinking about the like new messaging rollout? How's that as part of your overall program?
Very similarly. And so Denise had shared previously that they gave the sales team the slides
Yeah.
without a script, and then had see how they did, and then could add on top of that. I love that idea. I think we're going to do something similar. And then also the thing we did was with the post, we had them use a real deal, a real account, and
Mhm.
pitch it like they were going to do. Because with our marketing team, probably like most of you guys, you have a whole deck that you can choose from
Yes.
slides that are relevant. So that was super interesting to see what slides they didn't use or they did use. I
Yeah.
think we chatted about that, but then also what they felt comfortable with when they did it for a real client
Yeah.
situation. So that
We
we'll
asked them to do
something
that as well, to
similar.
set the scene, explain who the client is, what the challenge is,
Exactly.
and then we have an idea of why they're choosing those slides as well. So that's cool.
So
And
I
then
love it.
that's
And so
good too to use for onboarding or use for other purposes, because then it's all in SalesHood and available.
Mhm.
amazing. So listen, we have some great ideas here. We've covered kind of what's changed with kickoffs. We've talked about your 24 lessons learned. Appreciate all the insights. There's a lot of great tips in there. We'll, make sure folks get the recaps, and then, congrats on kind of where you're at with 25, and love the focus on messaging, and love the focus on kind of using AI to help drive more interactivity. And I think this will be I think it's important we want to get everyone to see it. We want everyone to see kind of how AI can be used at your kickoff before, during, and after. And so I've asked Danica to give us a sneak peek into the new AI role play. And so Danica, how do you feel? You ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
Are you guys all ready? We're
So
ready to see it?
ready. It's super
Yes.
cool.
All right. So great conversation today so far. Karen, Denise, love having you on talking about trends, what you're doing differently, lessons learned. One thing that I often talk with my customers about going into SCO and then leaving SCO is, what are the priorities? What are those learning objectives? And how do we allow our reps to demonstrate mastery and reinforce those learning objectives, not just before, during, but also after SCO? So we have our AI role play. That's really where you get that opportunity for your reps to practice that real time, real life scenario, whatever the scenario may be. Maybe you're focusing on new messaging, or maybe you are wanting to focus on objection handling. You can tailor that experience for your reps with our AI role play to allow them to have that opportunity to practice and build the conversational competence piece, and then take the feedback, tailor their approach, and then feel confident that they've demonstrated those learning objectives with mastery. So I'm going to walk you through our AI roleplay. Now, keep in mind, our AI roleplay is customizable. The one I'm going to show you, the scenario set that I'm the SDR calling the CRO trying to book a demo. What I want you to pay attention to is what feedback I receive based on my performance. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, I'm going to get started and let's get into it. All right, so here's our roleplay and let's begin.
Hi there. Would you like to do a role play?
Yes.
Great. Can I have your name, please?
My name is Danica.
Great. Nice to meet you, Danica. During this role play, you will play the role of an SDR at SalesHood. Let's begin the role play. Hi, this is John Doe, Chief Revenue Officer at Novatech. What can I do for you?
John, this is Danica Granard calling from SalesHood. Would love to talk to you about how we can help you improve your win rates by up to 50% and see a 400% increase in deal size. How does that sound to you?
That sounds intriguing, Danica. But how exactly does your product help sales reps be more productive?
Yeah, many of our customers are dramatically improving their win rates by guiding their sellers on what to do, what to say, and what to share. We're seeing these positive revenue outcomes by driving that repeatable sales execution. And we're seeing that with our customers like Exegy and StarCompliance. They're seeing dramatic lifts in their productivity and in their win rates. So what else can I tell you?
That sounds interesting, but now is not the right time. Can you call me back in 3 months?
Sure, John. I'll give you a call back in 3 months.
Thank you, Danica. That concludes our role play. Feedback, strengths. 1. Clear introduction. You introduced yourself clearly and concisely. 2. Value proposition. You effectively communicated the potential benefits of your product, including specific statistics which can capture interest. 3. Handling objection. You acknowledged my objection professionally and agreed to follow up. Opportunities for improvement. 1. Before diving into the pitch, try to engage with a question to understand my challenges better. This can make the conversation more relevant. For example, what are some of the challenges your sales team is currently facing? Objection handling. Instead of immediately agreeing to call back in 3 months, try to probe a bit. For instance, I understand timing is crucial. Can you share what might be changing in the next 3 months that would make it a better time? Perhaps we can schedule a brief follow-up to align our plans. Overall, you did a great job keeping the conversation concise and professional. Keep practicing and you'll continue to improve. Do you have any questions?
I do not.
Great. Thanks for participating in the role play. Danica, have a wonderful day.
Thank you. So pretty cool, isn't it?
Hey,
Oh,
It
awesome.
really is. That was great.
Yeah, and notice how I didn't handle that objection well, and it picked up on that. It gave me not only the recognition that I could have handled that objection better, but it also gave me tangible next steps that I can do to
Yeah.
improve. So then I can
Right.
go back and practice again with that recommendation and feedback in mind and continue to build on that conversational competence and demonstrate mastery of the learning objectives or those priorities that you have around skill, whether it's sales messaging or objection handling, for instance. You can tailor that experience for your reps based on your needs and priorities.
So in theory, if we did the pre-pitch and then we go to SKO and we talk about it, when they come back and did the post pitch, we could put in specifications where we noticed they were lacking or that, and the AI coach would hone in on that.
exactly.
That's very cool. That is very cool.
And you can see the before and after probably too, right? So
Yeah.
they started off as a 7, but then they're a 9.
And you handled it so well when he interrupted you, because I thought that was so rude.
Really, that's stuff like that happens.
But let's take a moment. Like, how realistic was the conversation for everyone? Like, let's hear your feedback on that.
I think it was very realistic.
Like,
Yes.
that's we're trying to make it. Denise, what do you think? How did it sound to you?
Absolutely. No, it was spot on. I mean, and that's why I was wondering about, like, do you enter the information in as well too, if there's certain things that you want to, points that you want to make sure that they're hitting on that he would
Yeah.
talk to. But I thought I did love as well how it just it's like when you're on a Zoom call, and even if the person isn't on there, but their photo's on there, you still feel I felt like I was engaging with the person and getting feedback. I mean, clearly it was the AI, but it was very good.
It felt
No,
just like a Zoom call when half the time clients don't
Yeah.
have their cameras on and you were just having a conversation.
Or they're freeze up.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, and Danica, you did a great job, Danica. And
That
for
was great.
everyone, like, just recognize that we're on a Zoom call, right? And so there was a slight lag. I'm just calling it out, but it wasn't anything with the tech. It's just we're on a Zoom, doing a Zoom. So it's just like, let's
I think it probably puts the person a lot more at ease too, right?
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people, they can present in front of clients all day long, but they get very nervous when they have to record themselves doing something. So by having someone there to prompt the questions and do that, it just keeps it a little bit more natural in an unnatural environment.
So we've got now the ability to do the AI coach, which is you just record something and get feedback without having the conversation. And then
Mhm.
now we've got this conversational coach that's gonna be with you. So how like now that you've seen it, Denise and Karen, and your brains are starting to kind of think through like how are you thinking about using this in your January kickoffs?
I definitely see, as I stated earlier, I'd like to have them do the pitch without any type of training, but just releasing the deck,
Yeah.
see how they do, because, oftentimes people feel, oh, this is great. I can use these slides. We can then recognize where the improvement needs to be, address that at SKO, and then they can go back and re-record with the AI assistant, I think would be phenomenal.
Beautiful.
So I have to give a shout out, Mark DeLuca, my sales enablement manager at Star, had asked Danica for something very similar before because we actually want to continue it not just for the messaging, but through the whole sales cycle. So different objections at different stages and how we can even have recurring things. So maybe once every other week, they get a huddle that comes out that says, hey, you just had this, do this call and get this objection, or
Wow.
here's a situation, now do something with it. So
I love it.
what we're thinking.
And Karen, that's perfect because the way that the administration works is you listen to one scenario, which was an SDR scenario, but you can create as many AI role plays as you want. So you'll basically be able to create an AI role play by role, by play, by product, by stage in the sales process,
Right.
by conversation. So you can imagine this crazy matrix that would be dripped to your team as they're making their way, and it could be delivered through a learning path, or it could be delivered just in time on a page for folks as well if they're kind of just reviewing a play. So you've got, we're making it really flexible for you, Karen.
Yay, fantastic.
No, so great, so great. Danica, great job. So I'll give you a little awesome, and thanks for the quick demo. And so listen, we're winding down, and I think there was a question about motivation, and let me just let me pop open that question with this from Ash. With the shift away from bringing in stars to motivate at RKO, what suggestions do you have to energize and motivate on a budget? Right, I think we touched on it, but maybe we just kind of highlight a couple of things. How do you motivate on a budget?
Incorporating some different fun elements. I think like even throughout the chat section, the, sort of choosing people to get involved, making the sessions much more interactive. We generally also try to get a voice of the customer so that we can have a client there to talk about some sort of success stories. So in lieu of what we used to be able to spend more money on a motivational guest speaker, there's somebody coming in actually who's, actually much more relevant to the folks and to the business.
Great ideas. I love them. I think voice of the customer, some fun elements, tying the theme in, super smart. Karen, what would you add?
Yeah, I think you covered most of them. I think just the interactive bit is so key because nobody wants to be presented to all day long. So I think they're really excited that we're going to have these presentations before they can put in their questions in SalesHood.
Yeah. I
That's
love it, right? Ahead of time.
Yes,
Just,
ahead of time, and then have that interactive time, and then also having them present to each other. So I love the voice of the customer too. We would love to do that as well. I don't know if that's going to make it in, but and having them present to each other. They listen to each other as much or more than us. So
you got to keep the energy going. I think
I love the music. Got to do the music.
You got to have the playlist. I'll circulate my kickoff playlist again. I think for folks, how long, like when you've got people in a room and you've got someone on stage, what are you recommending to your speakers in terms of, interactivity? Like how long should they talk before they either ask a question or you do a room poll or do a small exercise? What's your suggestions?
So I tried to do prep with all of my presenters as well, because some people are just much more natural at engaging with an audience.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
And you can't assume just because, again, somebody presents great in front of customers and that type of thing, that there's a different element of nervousness that happens when they get up there. And so I've oftentimes too, with some people, I've asked, do they want to have somebody co-present with them? Because if they had two presenters that were up there, it gives them a second to, they have someone to engage with, they can then engage the audience, they can take a breath for a second, it takes a little bit of pressure off of them if they're a nervous presenter.
And polls are good for that too.
Yes.
So we will say like, okay, every 10, 15 minutes, have a poll or have some interactive, something to engage the audience. So it's not just a straight presentation.
And it depends on how big your audience is too, right? Because we only have probably about 40 people at our SKO this year with the go-to-market team. So it is very like, so Bob, what do you think? But you can do that with this type of environment where it was a little bit different. We used to use apps to engage in polls.
Totally. This has been great. We could go on and on, and super grateful to the three of you for being here, presenting, sharing your stories and experiences. And I know it's been super valuable for everyone. Before we wrap, I just have a quick for anyone that is interested in kind of getting some support or resources. So let me say this. If anyone's interested in kind of going a little deeper and seeing the AI coach or the AI role play demos, there'll be a link in the follow-up emails, or there's a link below in the replay, and you'll be able to do that. And we'd love to walk you through it. And we've got a pre-release happening in January, and then we'll get you in line. And it's so amazing. And you saw the great demo that Danica did, and it's so exciting. And as Karen said, you can use this for every conversation across the customer journey, across all roles, and it just next gen, and especially in a world where we're trying to be more interactive, we're trying to do more with less, it really solves a lot of those challenges. So that's number one. Number two, we talked about methodology a little bit. If anyone is a medic shop and you're looking to kind of fast start, medic, and you want to have a turnkey medic solution where you've got content, pre-work, medic AI, all that good stuff, boom, we've got that for you. And then if anyone is interested in having a scope consult and they want to have a strategy discussion, one of my friends, Aaron Farley, has volunteered that he'll jump on a call with you and your team and have a conversation about how to make your kickoff interactive and immersive and leverage all the latest innovations. And I know he's on this webinar as well. And so those are just 3 ways that we can support you. And let me bring this back to you, Denise, and you, Karen, and you, Danica. Would love any final tips, like what's 1 or 2 things from each of you? Like, what do you want people to walk away with that they should be thinking about for their kickoffs that are coming up soon? So I'm going to call in Denise first.
Ooh, breathe, stay focused on the objectives that you want to achieve. There can be a lot of details that you can start to get into, but really just kind of remember what it is that you're trying to achieve, what you want them to walk away with. And I always just try to think of what are the 3 top things I want them to walk away with knowing and understanding, and what's the emotion I want them to have when they walk away, right? So that's what I try to stay focused on, is it starts to get into so much detail, and we want this and we want that, and it gets too granular.
Beautiful. Great tip. Danica.
I would say, piggybacking off of Denise, be intentional about your learning objectives. Tailor your pre-work to fall in line with that. Plan reinforcements post-go. Measure the impact of the learning objectives and the mastery from your teams. And then have fun. Have fun with it.
Well
Oh my God,
said.
have fun, right? Breathe,
Yes.
have fun, some of the basics. And Karen, bring us home.
Yeah, I think the same, that, it should feel collaborative, energizing, but it should be action oriented. So they should know, like your learning objectives, like, what am I supposed to be getting out of this? And what is my action to take from this? So you can hit the ground running when you come out of it.
Well, everyone, great input from some great leaders. And I think I'll just close with have an amazing 2025, have an amazing close to 2024, have a great 2025, and hope your kickoffs and your SCOs and your 25.
Let's go.
Let's go, everyone.
You said it.
Thank you,
My
Denise.
first
Thank you,
go.
Karen. And
Thank you all so
Danica.
much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
We'll see you all later.